I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought and died just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Guess can't talk about that. Hey, everybody.
We did it.
We did it.
We're here, and only a little bit behind the 10-minute mark.
That's right.
So that's fine. That's fine.
Welcome to
Happy Jacks RPG podcast, season 33. Yes,
Holy Shitballs.
we've all been around far too long doing this. Episode 6.
That means we're all at least 33 years old, right?
Yeah,
For yourself.
I'm
Staying
a
at
Toys R
29
Us
and
kid.
rolling.
Yeah. So, I myself am Kadave, for those of you that might not know.
Hey, I'm Ingy.
Miyamo as Rob.
Thank you. In today's episode, we have the topic of what made you want to GM, which is interesting. I like it. And then we have an email. A juggling GM asks how to balance PC backstories with plot.
That's not literally juggling. I looked ahead. It's
Well, now you've
figurative
broken
juggling.
my dreams.
I
Because
can juggle while we do it, though.
I would 100% love a GM that's just up there juggling away
Literally juggling.
Yeah, I've seen it.
as a GM,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan Emmerich.
like while he's GM.
I'm sure he has it somewhere.
Well, see, you haven't seen it.
That's
You've
fair.
seen
I've seen it in my head.
You've seen a juggler who also GMs.
That's fair. In my
Yeah.
dreams, I should
right.
say. I've
Fair
seen
enough.
it.
Yes. All right. And then Thomas from Denmark wants to know how to keep track of all the NPCs in a story, because that could be a lot. If you'd like
Yeah.
to contribute a question or a story to the show, email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. One more time, happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
What's the email address?
Just so
Go
everybody
back
has
and
it.
listen again.
Oh,
Get good. Take notes.
Yep, baby.
Here's the announcement. Big announcement. Coming up January 13th, next weekend,
Oh, snap.
Game Days, our Discord-based mini game con, organized by all the awesome listeners on the Discord, is happening. There are currently 11 games on the books. 4 of those still have seats available, and more could be added at any moment. It seems like every time I think everything's full, somebody else comes up with an idea and puts it up there. You can join up and figure out how to join that at happyjacks.org/discord. And then you're part of this Discord community that's just full of awesome people that talk all the time. Like
all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit intimidating, but just jump in wherever you're going to jump in, and that's your flow.
If you're big on Discord, you won't be intimidated.
That's fair.
I, on the
Yeah.
other hand, I'm like, I just can't keep up.
No, I think
And then I was told, you're not supposed to.
that's no. Just,
Yeah,
just
just let it go.
You
Yeah.
just, yeah.
just Elsa. But I will say, like, if you're looking for community games, if you're looking to just scratch an itch, if you haven't jumped in a game in a while and are just looking for people who are kind of jump in and wrap their arms around you, and bring you into the fold, like, this is 100% the way to do it. If you're not familiar with Discord, the video options are great. The audio options are really easy. I highly recommend it. This stuff's been going on for, a few years now, 7-8 years off and on, right? With the
Yeah.
old like JackerCon and stuff like that.
Yeah, JackerCon's still a specific event.
Yeah. Okay.
But they've started doing these game days monthly-ish.
Oh, and that's great.
That are just get people from the community together. And here's a secret that I found out about being part of the Happy Jacks community is
Oh.
if people listen to the show and like the games we play, and you also listen to the show and like the games we play, suddenly you're in a community of all people that kind of think like you do and agree with kind of where you're coming at RPGs from, which makes it so easy to jump in and play games with people, right? You're not going into a just complete blind date situation, right? You're not going to show up and be like, oh, Lord, I don't know. The choices that are being made. I don't want to be a part of this. So it's super easy to jump in and just kind of be there. It's fun. I totally recommend it.
Yep.
All right. The Indie Designer of the Month this month is a friend of the show, Christopher Gray, a.k.a. Sundered Hold Scriptorium.
Woo!
His website is sunderedhold.com.
One more time.
Sunderedhold.com.
And there's no www dot.
No. It would probably still work.
Well, maybe, but it's not on the paper, so it doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
we don't.
That's true. I also did not say HTTPS // because web browsers today are smarter than we are.
Yes.
So they'll figure it out.
Hey, and James V just put it in
In the chat.
There
yeah.
you go.
chat. Thank you, James.
James is also smarter than us.
Yeah, he is
Like
absolutely.
a landslide.
And super on top of it.
Yes.
Unlike us.
Unlike us.
Featured game that we're going to talk about right now is Dungeon Caster. It's a new fantasy tabletop RPG rule set, specifically just random enough. He has spent a lot of time working on this caster universe of games and porting things into it, and it's fun. It's quick, it's light, but it has enough detail in it that you can really dive into making your character instead of some of the very, very rules-like games where you're like, my character's just like everybody else's character. Combat is not a slog. I've heard him talk about getting through a full-scale combat in 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Instead of 2.5, 3 hours. Characters are the important focus of the game. It's very story-driven. It's easy to pick up and play because the books aren't massive tomes that break tables. You can just pick it up and glance through it and figure it out. The best thing, though, is that it is compatible with any D20 product or setting. You can transfer all those old D&D adventures that you like to this new rule set without a lot of work. You can get it for $10.99 at DriveThruRPG or sunderedhold.com.
all right.
And I would recommend checking it out because I've liked all of Chris's games that I've ever played. Yeah. And if you're a person on the Patreon, you've probably heard the episode where he and I and Joey were talking about Disneyland and how it inspired him to write his Happiest Apocalypse on Earth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Fun times. All right. Moving on to the topic.
Topic for the day.
What made you first want to GM a game? If you don't GM, why isn't it for you?
What's a GM?
Buddy. Just pack your bag. Start walking.
That's it. Get out. Never docking my towels again. What made me want to GM?
Yeah, let's find out.
Yeah.
My very first game, I was like, this is fun, but I want to do what that guy's doing. You know, and I was in single digits in years, you know, like I was a kid. My first game that I played, I was like 5. My cousin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my cousin was like trying to, you know, entertain me and my brother and like thought he'd show us these books and like he made us characters. And I remember being like he's like, you're a halfling thief. We're going to make you a halfling thief because halflings are small and they've got hairy feet. And I remember him saying, are you going to have hairy feet when you grow up? And spoiler alert. Yes.
But
Not like Hobbit
yeah.
level, but still. And and I was just immediately enamored. My brother got all the books. I stole them. And I would just spend hours and hours and hours poring over those books because I wanted to be the storyteller, not so much the player. And like to this day, like I'm the forever GM out of choice. And my friends are always like, well, don't you want to play? You know, I'll run so you can play. And I'm like, I'd rather not.
So what is it? So what is it about? Is it setting up the story so others can engage in it? Is it directing? Like, what is it about being on that side that really calls you?
Yeah, I love setting up the pins so other people can knock them down and feel awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I love creating worlds that people like, and just setting up this cool world that people can like go around in. I mean, just this week, I was running my Wednesday night D&D group across wastelands, and they found some, I don't even remember what it was now, but random monster, and they fought that, and as the combat is wrapping up, this dragon comes down, and I'm explaining everything and just watching all of their eyes like saucers, like, and I'm like, this is it right here, this is the juice. That, and then after GMing for a while, playing with new players.
Oh, yeah.
And like when you're sitting there, and like a lot of people these days in particular have played video games or whatever, and they're going, you know, like, okay, well, and they're trying to find, you know, where the map ends, you know, like what's not on the decision tree or whatever. And there's a point where it's like they realize they can do anything that they want, and all of a sudden you would watch that light go ding in their eyes, and like that's the shit right there.
That's
I
cool.
dig it.
So has there ever been a moment in your GMing career where you've wanted to take a step back and be like, no, I need to see it from the other side? Like, I need to see it from a player point of view in order to find mojo again, or something along those lines?
Yes, but not necessarily for that reason. There was something that happened not too long ago where I was like, I think I played in somebody's game at one point, and it completely changed my my perspective on things, because when I'm running a game, especially like D&D 5e, you know, we're in combat, and whatever's happening, I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. What? No, you guys will be fine. I'm watching your hit points. Like, nah, like even if you do go down, like one of these guys is going to be able to get you back up, and like you got Revivify, whatever, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the stress that's happening on the player side in that moment of like slowly watching your hit points start to whittle away and get chipped down and all that stuff, that is frightening.
Yes.
And like, I need to be more aware of that. And like when I'm DMing, and so I need to have that experience fresh in my head. So that's one of the reasons I think it's very important to
more aware
play.
of it as a tool to use against them?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, like to keep in mind that like if I just want to like, oh, I just want to chip away a bunch of people's hit points for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Like the effect, like I go into every encounter with a mood that I'm trying to create for that specific encounter, right? Like not every like, oh, this should be a fun swashbuckly time, right?
Gotcha.
But if everybody's like taking massive damage and almost dying, it is not a fun swashbuckly time. It is a hard combat.
Yeah.
And it is stressful, but sometimes it should be like that. But it's like, oh, well, I should have these guys not be able to hit as well and not do as much damage when they do, because that's going to be fun for the players. And so, the more they can
give them that opportunity to be like, oh, we got this.
Yeah.
And instead of just every single time combat being that, like, oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't, no, you go. I'm going to stay over here by this barrel.
So, interesting, just, and it is slightly going off topic, but whenever we stayed on topic, the interesting thing about the combat perspective that you're talking about and when it should be swashbuckling in an encounter, do you tend to look at what it is from a story perspective about when you can introduce that? Or is it more of a situation of, oh, I just had a bunch of people level, they've gotten new abilities and stuff like that, let me give them a chance to scratch that?
I do it more from a story perspective.
Okay.
Because I think like in my games, I try to do this like wave of emotions as far as encounters go. Like if you just had a big bad encounter, maybe, you know, like we just did one where they had to take out a Fey Lord who had usurped the throne from one of the PC's parents.
Oh no.
And now, this is endgame stuff, right? So I'm like, this has to be hardcore, and there was a moment where I was sweating out my butthole, right? Like, because I was like, oh no, everybody is down except the druid.
Yeah, but that
And-
makes it good.
Yeah, and then the druid did one thing, got the fighter, who was it's her throne, and then the bad guy made the mistake of walking away or casting a spell, and the fighter had Mage Slayer, so every time somebody casts a spell while they're in melee combat with her, she gets a free attack, and she has this spear that will turn him mortal so they can kill him.
Oh.
She does opportunity attack with that thing, boom, and all of a sudden, complete 180.
Yeah.
And that was intense. But the next thing that they fought, you better believe it was a bunch of guys that they could just murder the shit out of so they could feel cool and like heroes again.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
and that to me is also very important, is like, let your heroes know that they're heroes every now and then make them work for it. And then, you know,
Here's butter you can fight.
Just like musically, right? Like, if you're listening to a band play and they're just at 11, screaming at
What?
you the whole time,
What? Yeah.
it's not as interesting musically as a band that can show some range, right?
instruments.
I'm not
drop
necessarily
down.
talking about like a rock band.
Depends on the mood you're in, though.
No, but
It's what he was talking about.
sure, and that's the story part.
Sure.
That it counts for things, but if you don't if you make a playlist and it's all the same type of music to the point where there's literally no variation, it's just a bunch of people doing different takes on the same exact thing, that's not as interesting to me as a playlist that takes you on a journey, right? Like, you want to have some, just like reading a book, right? Like, if you open the book and on page 1 it's balls to the wall action, and
it never
and it
stops
never
being balls to the
stops.
wall action.
it's very difficult for that to be a great book,
Even Michael Bay has people have a
right?
conversation
But, like,
every now
really
and then.
the closest I've ever seen a film get to that is like Fury Road, right?
Yeah.
And like that was the limit, right? Like,
Yeah.
and even that has moments where it went into like memory and gave you a little chance to go, okay,
Yeah, you
all
got to
right.
take a breath, man.
Yeah, just breathe a minute, but just
Yes.
have that dynamic range makes it interesting, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
So what made you want to?
For me, I really got into GMing when I discovered things I wanted to run that nobody else was around to do, or nobody else had the interest to take up the mantle.
So Angie was desire, yours was necessity.
Kind of. I mean, like, I still like being a player, for sure.
Playa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go around to all the systems. but it's, for me, it's I love playing in a game, but that's almost, to me, it's almost like the introvert extrovert balance. Right? Like, being a player to me is more an introverted experience, right? I'm sitting there, I'm absorbing this story, and I'm processing it, digesting it, and then making a move, or doing my thing, or choosing my actions, or acting out whatever scene I'm in.
Yeah.
Which I know is weird because, like, I play publicly on the internet a lot. It doesn't seem like an introverted activity.
But you can't look him in the eyes, so you're fine.
But, like, to me, GMing is the extrovert, right?
Yeah, totally.
You're hosting
putting
this
it out
party.
there. Yeah.
You are organizing the catering, and you are figuring out the entertainment and the lighting.
And when you have to go pee, nobody gets to play.
right, right.
You are on break.
So, like, that's the balance for me. And if I do too much of one or the other, I feel the need to change.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'll play a game, like, I'll be a player solid for 6-8 months. Fine, no problem. But I get to about that line and I'm like, there's something I want to run.
Yeah. When we're playing our game here on Sundays, Pinnacles, check it out, happyjacks.com/pinnacles. I'll be sitting there being like getting antsy. I'm like, not doing enough.
You just look Jason dead in the eyes and be like, you're doing it wrong.
No, Jason's not doing it wrong. He's doing it fine. I just get antsy.
He's just not me doing it.
No,
That's,
he's doing it
Exactly.
wrong.
yeah. But that's kind of where I come from. And then over the years, as RPGs have bloomed in variety and
Yeah.
topic and
Oh, yeah.
Like
and,
yeast.
and drilled down to such a specific degree, right?
Yes.
Because, like, it's not back in the day where our choices were, Riffs, Traveler, Teenage
D&D,
Mutant Ninja
D&D,
Turtle,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like Palladium Fantasy if you were Massachusetts.
Toon. I remember buying
Right.
Toon.
Yeah. There were like a few games, but there were enough. There were so few titles available that like you kind of picked a path, and that's the direction you went.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for years, I don't like to learn new systems because it's really difficult for me with my learning disabilities to learn new systems. So it's like when I didn't like D&D, so I created my own system, and then I found Hero System, James, who made Champions.
Yeah.
And I had a group that was playing that, and I was like, well, this is great because I can use one system for anything that I want to do.
Absolutely.
And then eventually, they went from version 4 of the rules, which was, like a D&D book size, to version 5, which was like 2.5 D&D books stacked on top of each other. It was a single phone book. And then version 6, which was 2 phone books. And I was like, I don't even want to read this. 2, and I've been playing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And 2, I can't possibly I can't ask another human being to get into this game.
Yeah.
And that's when I found Savage Worlds. And I was like, great, perfect. Savage Worlds, all I'm ever going to need.
The pamphlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like a slightly larger pamphlet.
Yeah.
Hey, Savage Worlds at pegging.com. What about you?
No, wait.
Okay.
What was your first system that you jammed?
It was that Star Wars D6.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The West End.
West End Star Wars D6
That's right.
game
West
that we
End
played together in
games.
high school.
That's right.
That you fucked up.
I did not fuck up.
You played your character,
I did play my character.
right?
I
But,
blew up the party with a tornado.
like
Hey.
in the first session,
Oh, man.
yeah.
I didn't know there was going to be more than one.
Right.
In my defense.
I had that problem recently with the D&D group. I'm like, hey, we're going to get together and play like a series of one-shots, and every time it'll be something new. And everyone showed up, and at the end of it, I pulled out Deck of Many Things and had people pulling cards and stuff, and was like, well, whatever, we're not ever going to see these characters again.
Yeah.
People got mad and like bummed out and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, if you want to play these characters, we'll just pretend that the Deck of Many Things never happened.
Yeah.
And then one of the other guys was like, but I got a keep. I want that keep. I was like, okay, bad Deck of Many Things stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Still playing with that
But
group
yeah.
a year and a half later.
That was, I mean, it was partially my fault, but like as a first-time GM, I got real into the idea of like doing little mini episodes with each player beforehand and like developing their character. And I was really like, okay, cool. And set up all this sort of intrigue and shit. And my brain did not connect the dots that like I've set up too much intrigue. And now you totally want to kill the other players. Like,
In fairness, they wanted to kill me and I was defending myself.
well, yeah, okay.
Because
yeah.
of the vignettes where we set it
Yeah.
up and
Yeah. Here's a little tip.
Yeah.
So my one of my friends who I will not name in high school, he ran his game for all of us, and everybody loved it. It was like a super cool thing. Idea that he had, and I think he's selling it now. I can't remember, so I won't go over it. But anyway, and there were like 2 groups that he ran with, and one was his like advanced group, and we were like the B team.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, and we all like tried to play together, and one day one of the guys from the A team comes in, like B.A. Baracus, and he's gonna play with us, and we're like, this is awesome. And then like suddenly out of nowhere we start getting shot up, and like boom, we start dying and stuff like that, and his character ran around and killed all of us. So that the GM could like be like, hey, this is just to show you guys shouldn't be so trusting in your own group. Don't do that.
Oh no, that's not fun.
what the
That's
fuck?
bullshit.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I mean, that's something that a teenager would do.
Sure.
He was probably 16, 17 years old, and we're allowed to do that stuff when we're
stupid.
dumb and stupid and young like that. But
Especially before there were cameras everywhere.
Well,
yeah, that
Yeah.
was a really fucked up thing because we were, we all wanted to get together and have fun with our friends.
yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then, did any of you ever like, right, Story Girl? I like systems wise and all that stuff, Worlds, I got the old Forgotten Realms box set back in the 90s and like spent like months going over it before like I transferred all my games into that. I don't even know what I was playing in, if I was playing in anything, because you know at one point D&D was just, okay, you're at the dungeon and you walk inside. And that's it. And then suddenly, you know, we're like, oh no, now we're out in taverns and we're doing things like that. And so I got the Forgotten Realms set and I loved that thing. And I went over it and, you know, again and again, I learned like the Dwarven language, all this shit. And then like, I think the first game that I ran for my players in it, somebody asked me about one of the cultures and I rattled off something. And one of the guys goes, actually, like, blah, 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 blah. And he knew more about it than I did. And that's when I was like, you're never doing a box set again. I'm just writing my own shit.
See, that's where I would have killed him.
He may have died.
IRL?
No, actually, I think I've gamed with him, like, in the past couple of years, actually.
Robert is legitimately afraid that if Lake Mead's water level keeps dropping, they're going to find all these RPG players just out there.
They know
from over the years.
Exactly.
For me, I'm not really a GM. Like I don't like I've tried it a couple times, like high school again, and it was one of those like, oh, I have an idea for a combat, right? Because we were playing Rifts, and that's what Rifts is. You know, and I think it worked out okay. Like I killed like a good half the party, so yeah, that's success, right? But since then, like I still have a little bit more of a tendency where it's either like I can't find my midpoint, and in absolute fairness, it's because of a lack of practice, like where I'll either go too far of like no, this is the way you should go. Or I'll go too far going, what do you want to do? And I haven't.
That's so frustrating as a player to be like, I need something from you, buddy.
Yeah, just throw like 3 pebbles.
Yeah, I've had 2 DMs in the past, like, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years who have been like, you know, here's a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, which one should we do?
Yeah.
And none of the players know what to do. And they're like, well, I just gave you I gave you 7 plot hooks in front of you. And it's like, yeah, you gave us too much shit. Yeah. We didn't know which one to do, and you wouldn't give us a clue. And then one guy, like, decided to add one more hook to all of that. And we went, oh, that shiny tower, we should go to that. The thing that just peaked up overnight. Let's go to that. And we got our asses kicked. And he's like, well, I didn't think you'd go for it. And I'm like, you did, really?
That's
you
all
didn't think that we wouldn't go to the shiny metal tower that cropped up overnight offshore?
Yeah.
He's like, well, that's like way higher level than you guys are right now. I'm like, well, why put it in front of us?
That's exactly it. And
or like
But
make
he was new
make
to
it
it.
appear and then have some like badass adventure come back all beat up to let you know, like,
don't go out there.
oh, my party and we went out there last night when it appeared, and I'm the only survivor. It's fucked up. Don't go right now. And then everybody's like, oh, now I'm scared of that place.
Or like, yeah, and now a lot of people like to, a lot of gamers that I've gamed with recently are like, oh, that, like, I just put a plot in front of them, and they go, oh, that sounds much harder and way beyond what we can do. We should go out, do some other stuff, pick up some weapon, like some magic weapons, and get some levels, and then go do that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. That wasn't at all. You guys, I think you guys could have taken this thing, but now I'm going to make it harder, and I'm going to give you, like, one of the things I just did in Baldur's Gate. I didn't even know that this was a thing, but there's an owlbear there in Act 1, and it has this spear shaft sticking out of it, and you find the guy who tried to kill it, who it killed elsewhere, and it has a spear head in her and a spear shaft in the other guys, and you could take those and combine them. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be so cool? So they have another thing in there too that's like that, where you can collect the pieces of a magic item, and like, what if that one of the characters had something like that, and like give them all these like cool little hooks to run around.
Yeah, so that's just where I've fell down. It's just the hooks, and then as you get older, like the timing, like just being able to sit down and be like, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to think about things? that's where like Dave and I have GM together, like for con games and stuff like that are very little module, you know, easy to handle, and situations like that, which I've enjoyed, and I've enjoyed helping the players, interacting with them, and reacting to what they're doing and throwing them curveballs and driving joy in them. I mean, some of them have been pure combat scenarios front to back when we did Top Secret, but I mean, Dallas was a different scenario.
All story.
Yeah, you know, and so I think that there was some differentiation there. So I think it's enjoyable, but I don't think I'm the type of person that is like the long term, you know? Like it's just I don't, at least right now where I am in my life, hell, when I turn 60 or something like that and I'm retired, you know, kids are in college or out beyond that.
Bold
like,
of you to think 60 is retired.
Well, it's just because he's so rich.
Oh, yeah.
One day. So yeah, maybe that'll change it up. Maybe when I'm the one that doesn't have dementia in the group, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe
Then you can run the same scenario every day.
Yay! So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you stick with it long enough, you'll get like me, where you're good enough to manipulate your players into going where you want them to go
That's fair. Yeah.
without them realizing it. You
Yeah.
get really good at Inception.
I just do that in real life,
Yeah.
so I don't want to do it for gaming.
Yeah, no. That's 100% fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that actually may be part of it. Is that like I'm so extroverted as a part of like a job and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I'm just so out there and constantly talking and constantly reacting to things like that I'm like, when I game, I just want to turn my brain off.
Yeah, one of my best players I've ever played with, who's part of my Wednesday night group, she is very much what I believe Matt Colville referred to as an audience member player, where she's happy to show up, hang out with friends, drink beers, roll dice, and do her thing. She's an actor.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So like, she doesn't instigate a lot of stuff, but if you throw the ball to her, the number of times that we were on her family's quest line and something came up and she would go like and just kind of like slight adjustment.
Yeah.
And she would go into something and all of a sudden it was just tears over Zoom.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's
That's super
so
rad.
good.
Yeah.
But it's like some people you got to throw the ball to. Because I actually had a mutual friend. I'm like, are they here? I don't know. I had a mutual friend who was like, I just played with Alora, and she, like, I really expected her to kind of like, you know, be out there and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So she's so, extroverted, but like, she just kind of sat there and watched everything. And I was like, oh, here's the key with her is she's great, but you got to throw her the ball.
Yeah.
She's not going to take it on her own.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally understand that, right? Just
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to shift into neutral and just let it wash over you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to dissociate when I play.
Okay, well, congrats.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
game
like-
sessions go by like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can't account how many times I've been like sitting at a game where I'm playing and I get ideas for other games or other things, and so I'm like writing down these things
Yeah.
while trying to pay attention. Or like I played a game online. I feel really, really bad about this. One of my friends was running a game and I was on Twitter the whole time. I was paying attention.
Yeah.
And I kept up with everything,
Yeah.
but like I could not pay direct attention to the game because I had too much anxiety at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That'll do it.
That was my big discovery about myself with the pandemic era, everything shifting to playing online. And I've discovered that as an online player, I don't feel good at it.
yeah.
If I'm in a room with people, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm playing the game, it's awesome, it's great. When I'm online, I'm sitting in front of my computer.
My
that is
distraction machine.
That is my
Multiple
primary
screens.
Yeah.
entertainment device with multiple screens, and I'm doing my thing. And I notice that because I don't want to be the a-hole that's like, oh, keep that spotlight on me. Fuck all you other players. So like I'll purposely do my thing, let the action move on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my years of one ear listening to actual plays
Yeah.
has turned it into a thing where I just immediately shift into passive audience mode and listen to the other things going on.
Yeah.
And then I'll still interject when it's my turn and I'll be part of the game. But as soon as the rest of that, my brain space frees up from actively acting, I'm like,
Yeah.
Nope. Now I'm Power Wash simulatoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also discovered after 3 years, almost 4 years now, that when I do I do a lot of sound effects
Okay.
when I talk and when I do stuff, and I'll be like, and it's like like that. Zoom on default will noise cancel all that
Yes.
shit out.
Yep.
And I
Oh.
just found that out like a couple of sessions ago.
It's been years of your people just seeing you go,
Yeah, and they're all like,
Okay.
and I could tell something wasn't quite right,
Yeah.
but like wasn't quite sure. And then at some point found out that was it. We started recording our games, and so I'm like going through the recording, and like it's just quiet, and I'm like, I just noticed, and they're like, oh yeah, there are times where you make noises we can't hear you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I wish you'd said something.
oh
I
man.
fixed my all my
gain or whatever.
yeah, whatever it was. And then this past game, I was able to do it. But they also heard the motorcycle out on the street.
Yeah.
So
Give and take.
give and take.
Discord, by the way, if anybody's going to join the days,
Game days.
Game days.
the Discord will often do that as well.
Mm.
Discord
Yeah,
will
it'll noise gate out
noise
your
gate out things.
mutterings.
Yep. Yeah, which is helpful when I'm online, but not helpful sometimes if you're GMing for effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
The interesting side of that for me is when I'm GMing online, it's fine because you're never off
Correct.
as the GM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You're always like, even if your players are doing a whole thing and you're not participating in it, you're still like, I need to be watching what's happening
Yeah.
and fully engaged so that I can prepare whatever is happening around their story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So as a GM online, I felt like I was still doing well.
Yeah. Some of my players like use Zoom chat to like
Yep.
DM each other and stuff, and I can see them doing stuff as we're doing stuff, and I'm like, at least they're not on Twitter.
That's
like
fair.
me,
That's-
the asshole.
At least you're not like me.
At least you're not like.
That's right.
Should we
All
go to
right.
our mail?
I think we should
All right.
before we are here until midnight. Let's go.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen y'all, so
That's
I mean,
right.
yeah,
I
we'll just
I was
keep
like,
talking.
it's been like 8
fate
seasons.
years. It's been fate years.
8
Yeah,
seasons.
all
or
of those
so
seasons.
since I've been on. Bless me, Dave, for I've sinned. It's been at least 8 seasons.
You're coming to the
since I've
wrong
been-
guy if you're looking for absolution. I'm just telling you.
Have 3 beers and call me in the morning.
Yeah. Figure it out. All right,
me to
number
read
1.
it?
Go for it.
All right, mailbag 1. Dear Happy Jacks team, newer listener, and this is my first time writing in for your sage advice. I've been GMing since my friends got a short-lived campaign started online during the pandemic. Most of them didn't stick with it, but me and one other person really fell in love with the hobby and found some other players to start a new campaign. Since then, I mostly play and GM for online friends. It's gone well, but one aspect of GMing really is hard for me. Balancing character backstories with the broader narrative. Sometimes it feels like juggling flaming swords. Exhilarating, yet perilous. Maybe he actually knows how to juggle.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. He could be juggling, literally juggling flaming swords. One of my players in the most recent campaign is really creative with their characters and crafted an intricate backstory involving a long-lost twin, a mysterious prophecy, and a sentient cheese wheel.
I'm 100% in for the last bit.
It's cheddar.
Cheddar. Hey, I'm Cheddar. How you doing? As engaging as it was, fitting it seamlessly into the campaign proved challenging. It was so entertaining that it often became the center of the session. How do you integrate complex character backgrounds without overshadowing the main plot? Any tips on intertwining personal stories into the overarching narrative? Excitedly awaiting your wisdom. A backstory juggling GM who isn't on the Discord and gave up Twitter, so no catchy online name for me. P.S. I don't know why everyone adds these to their emails, but evidently it's a thing.
You can tell they're new because they're asking for sage advice.
Yes.
You shall not find that here.
Instead of drunken advice.
I mean, I've had beer with sage in it before.
Is that advice?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Clearly.
Burnt sage gives me a headache.
Also, the PS thing as backstory, it started ages ago with people that just couldn't stop writing more content into their email.
PS, PPS, PPPS.
And then it would end up being like a whole second email
Yeah.
underneath.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Then it was like, was it show hidden content or something? That
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
show rest of email.
That's a callback. It's
old
there.
story.
I was gonna say that's
Stuff
season
that
2. Excuse me.
So I feel you.
Feel ya.
That it's the curse of a GM with really interested players that come up with such amazing details for you, right? And then you just have this giant. It's like going to a restaurant and somebody orders the appetizer sampler,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, there is so much here that I want to try, but I also know that I have a whole rack of ribs coming,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Like I can't. Oh, okay. All right. So like, I'll have a mozzarella stick, and then we'll talk for a while.
Yeah, and kind of depending on the game, like, I don't know if you guys have found this out, but like, if I'm doing a one shot, I'm really happy you did that backstory, and I am Mr. Backstory. Like, I weave that shit into my long-term campaigns like crazy. But if it's a one shot, if we're just playing tonight, that's a cool backstory you wrote,
Yeah.
bro. But it ain't making it into this game.
Yeah.
We're here for a good time,
It's a
not
quick
a long
and dirty.
time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have found that the trick is, for me, to pick a player and grab a nugget
Mm-hmm.
every maybe 2 sessions,
That's right.
right?
Dunk it in the barbecue.
Yeah, just you grab that little bit of their story and bring it in,
Yes.
and then you move on to the next player, and you grab a little bit from them and bring it. Now, if you have the imbalance where one character is writing these 15-page dissertations on their character and all the things that happen in their life, and your other players are giving you bupkis, then you just kind of go to that player's stuff, pull out like a big chunk.
Yes.
Pull out like the long lost twin brother, right?
Yeah.
And then you make that a focus for 3, 4, 5 sessions, finding that long lost brother is in trouble, or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got a note from them that came through some courier.
That's the hook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that becomes a hook for a few session game, and then kind of let your other players know that's what's happening, right?
My games are driven by this stuff. Like,
For
I
sure.
don't go like, well, at 5th level they're gonna meet a necromancer, and then they're gonna have to go through all these things, and then they're gonna fight a small dragon, but it's the mother dragon, you know, and go off like that. No. I do an intro adventure that's just anyone could drop into this adventure. People get to know each other. They get to know their own characters, because I also find people, even when you've written, you could write as much backstory as you want, but until you get that character on their feet, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And then and then it'll be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a little piece of this come in here, just like you were saying, or like whichever one really, really like sparks something in me early on. I go like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have this backstory with this character's love affair with the Lord's daughter, and that's going to be going on. And then, like, while that's happening, suddenly there's some guys attacking from another person's backstory.
Correct. Yeah.
And then this guy is looking for stuff pertaining to his backstory, but you kind of let the characters and the players decide, you know,
When to bring it in and stuff like
or
that.
like what it is, and then I just freaking jump them with it. No matter.
Yeah. I think look, I
Reap
think
what you sow.
that's right. That's right. I think that the opportunity is that, you're still the GM, right? And so taking a look at sort of the broader, not the broader story you want to tell, right? Because it's always a collective story, but your broader framework, and say, you know what, maybe instead of, an outside land being the attacker, it's the long lost twin brothers war party, like little changes, because you already have it there, but nothing's set in stone.
That's
so
right,
you can flip in and out and see what you can do to really make it more personal for the player, because those are the campaigns the players are going to remember.
Yeah,
the ones that are
when
personal.
your backstory for your character gets woven into something, and the whole group is working together to fight your backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And then it means something to the characters.
For real.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about the Blade Runner game that I've been running here is it gives the GM so many little tools, because every time someone takes some downtime, whether that's going home to sleep it off or going out drinking or whatever, it has a little table that you roll on every time they take a downtime, because the game is broken up into shifts. So there's 4 shifts per day, and if you go, you could do 3 shifts and then you have to take a downtime, or if you're
Or you can push.
you can push and do a 4th, but then you're forced into it, right?
Yeah.
And there's negatives involved with things, but like every downtime, there's a chart. Roll a d8 and let's see something that might happen during your downtime, and it has been so useful for just bringing in little backstory bits from all the players, right? You get a phone call from somebody, and they need your help. Is the gist of one of the things you can roll, right? And it's so easy to be like, oh, well, okay, you got a call, and then the call is about the case they're working.
Yeah.
Because they're peripherally connected to this world around this kind of, replicant versus human thing. So, okay, they're contacting you because they heard something on the grapevine, and they're like, oh, I know you're a cop dealing with this stuff. Let me, maybe you could help my friends out. Do something nice for me, right?
Yeah.
Just bringing in those little bits. Like, one of my players, Kai, gave me this cool as fuck story for this replicant that's an older model that has had bits replaced to be more up to date and pass as a current replicant.
Nice.
Right? And like has these vivid dreams about a child that can bring plant life back to the earth.
Oh.
And like the whole like trees and all this focus and stuff. So just dropping in little bits about plants
Yeah.
through at one point they went to a cool concert at the Disney Concert Hall, right? That's been elevated 200 stories in the air and has a park around it now,
Like you do.
right?
Yeah.
And in the reception, they had actual like ferns, like real living
Fancy.
ferns.
Yeah, that's a flex.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because it was a high society thing and all that. And like, I spent the whole time like just like hanging out next to the fern, like it's a real, stuff like that. And
Well,
like,
Awesome.
they grow better when you talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And you're not a monster. Story Girl in chat talks about one of the more effective approaches is co-creating characters with the players via GM prompts and involving other players. Individual/group session zeros can make the process of channeling that creative in a more collaborative direction, which I could not agree with more.
Yeah.
That's actually, I'm
For
planning on doing that. We have our campaign 2 is coming up for my Wednesday night group. I'm going to do a Savage Worlds fantasy game right here on this channel. Oh, yeah.
My God, Wolfman Jack just came into the studio.
Yeah. And like, I love, first off, the character that you can come up with together is better than any character anyone can make up with on their own.
Yes, 100%.
And like, I just spent went out to lunch with one of my players, Jack, who is at my in-person game. We do about once a month, and spent 2 hours eating pie and going, oh, and you know what? And then,
and then,
Yeah.
no, and then.
yeah. And then figuring out actually because it was a part of the world that I had 2 paragraphs written on.
Yep.
And so we figured out all the stuff. He now has a book basically
Yeah.
written on this. I'm like, oh God, when I make this, because I'm actually working on the book for Aldgate. That's at hjrpg.com. Which you can get it all for free right now.
Yeah. Was that a plug that just went by?
Hey,
Yeah.
bark, bark. Whoa, that's a plug. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to give you a writing credit because you just wrote so much. I haven't even seen it yet. He hasn't even, but he is also from one of my writing groups.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that makes
works out.
sense.
Yeah.
But does anyone want to say anything about that?
Well, so the only thing that just kind of the Story Girl thing triggered it for me, and you said it was Savage Worlds, is they've got interludes broken into or at least some of the older editions. I haven't played the newest one, but they used to have interludes broken into their
Yeah.
campaigns where they encourage you to just be like, take a quick break for one session and do story shit and do background character story, character driven stuff that's outside of the realm of combat and the main story. And I think taking those opportunities, like not everything has to be woven into the giant, you know, metascape. It could just be, you know what? Let's go visit your mom today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I had
Sometimes it's a Riker episode.
yeah.
and sometimes yeah,
100%. Yeah, you just hop over chairs
Yeah.
and everything's great.
I did a downtime thing for my my Wednesday night group at one point. Was like, we're gonna take a 6-month time jump. Like, you guys figure out, because I think we had like a week off or something. So in 2 weeks, come back and, you know, we're gonna start with you telling us about what you did over the last 6 months. And I chatted with each one of them during those 2 weeks, and one of the guys was like, I think that's where we discovered that his character was a spy
Oh.
in this musketeer group.
Oh.
And that he had taken his time to find, like, he rolled on some chart, and it was like he uncovered this like group of I don't even know what they were, but he basically had this whole gambling thing set up where he ended up winning like 75,000 gold
Oh my
pieces.
gosh. And the
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, and he put most of it went back to the
Except in
crown,
the
but
Musketeer thing, it would be an actual Falcon.
That's true. Yes.
just a
named
very
Millennium.
old falcon.
Yeah. One eye, one wing.
What kind of hunk of junk is this?
Hey, this Falcon
It just tried to hiss at me and dust came out.
Made the Paris run in less than 12 kilometers.
One of the other things I was gonna say, unless you had something to
No.
add on there.
I was just jumping.
Fitting it into the campaign proved to be challenging. It was so entertaining that it often became the center of the session. Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, if it's the same person over and over again,
Yeah.
then I think that's the
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is funny because I wrote down, let all the players know, and this is a great thing to do at a session 0,
Yeah.
that like, for me, I know the way I like to run things is, you know, like we're gonna hit some stuff on Dave's character, and then eventually I'm gonna weave in stuff from your character and all that. But like, I would say to the group, so we're eventually gonna come down to, you know, one person's storyline where they're kind of the center of it. Just have patience. You'll have plenty to
It'll
do
come
during this.
Yeah.
And it'll come around to you too.
Yeah.
That is both a promise and a threat.
Yes. Yeah. That sounds like my love life.
And when you're writing those backstories, leave things open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't write me the novelization.
Don't encapsulate
Yeah.
everything and finish the story. Leave.
If you wrap
know.
up all your loose ends, nobody wants to play that.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
like, well, yeah, I had to have that conversation with one of my players where I was like, hey, you know, like, this is great, but this is a whole life that happened before you were here, and there's nothing for me to draw from there because all of those people are dead or like
Yeah.
no longer in the picture in some way.
Yeah.
So like, what are you about now? I need to know what you're about now and what
Yeah.
drives you.
Yeah.
Like the stereotypical, like, my whole family's dead.
Yeah.
There's no one in my life I care about. I'm only an adventurer
That's
to
right.
kill. And you're like, okay, buddy.
Okay, we could do that, or we could have a real person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be Leon the professional. You're not that interesting until you encounter
Natalie Portman.
Natalie.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people aren't that interesting
Until they meet Natalie
Natalie
Portman.
I mean,
yeah,
sure.
Zach Braff, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Exactly the point. You know, like you got to have someone left that you care about to create a motivation, right?
Yeah, and that is creating a character with a backstory with open ends is it's an act of vulnerability,
yes.
For
and
sure.
that is, and so you can only do that with a GM that you trust.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Or-
some people are out there to get you, and so that's why a lot of people Especially because, like, when we were younger, oftentimes that was the point of being a
Yes.
GM, was like, I'm going to exert my
Oh, yeah.
power that I've
Yes.
never felt in my life because I'm 13 and I've never been able to
23,
do
whatever.
It.
It's fine.
23,
Yeah.
60, whatever.
Yeah, same.
And so, like, actually sitting down and doing that and opening up, because I had a player one time, long ago, in a group from the 90s, in the late 20th century,
Oh, damn.
who he was a dwarf, and I was like, dwarfs in my campaigns are like, you know, religious, big family, that sort of
Yeah.
deal. Like, let me hear about your family and everything. And he was like, no one. I have no one and nothing that you can do. And like, you
Oh.
can't get me at all. And so I just had his family show up. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck you, here's your family. And he was like, into it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I gave him something to cry about.
Good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and a lot of times, I get it, players. If you are wary about providing those details, I understand. Because all of us have played with a GM who just wants to trample you in the not fun way,
Yeah.
right? Like, that just wants to bowl over you. Yeah,
Oh,
Oh, that just said a lot about
Yeah.
Dave.
yeah.
not really. There's a
Step on
whole
my-
lot to talk about.
Step on my neck, mommy.
But yeah, exactly. There are those Story Girl. You got it exactly. There are GMs that play to be the adversary, right? That want to control all the bad guys and make bad guys do bad things
And win.
and win the game.
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
The GM who wants to win is the worst.
right,
That's why I don't GM.
right.
Yeah.
I like.
Back to the early-
And I don't mind the GM that wants to win when you get into a tactical situation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like in a combat, if you're going to play your NPCs that are in the combat to the best of your ability against us, the players, thumbs up. That's fine.
Yeah. I
As
always
soon
say-
as that combat ends, though,
Yeah.
now we're telling the story together
yeah.
again.
It's one family again.
I
Yeah.
always say, I'm rooting for you, but I got to play them for keeps.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to play them to be authentic, so that way the characters on the other side know, oh, this is gonna mean something.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. And if I start pulling punches or whatever, they'll be like, oh, well, combat doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like in a video game where you're like, cool, I'm just starting out, and then suddenly you come around the corner and there's a huge, horrible monster, and you get involved in this fight with the monster, and clearly it's the trope of clearly you're meant to lose this fight.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the hospital with amnesia, and that's where the game actually starts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't don't let that be the thing all
Yeah.
the time, right? There's a reason why tropes can be effective, but aren't necessarily the best storytelling tool.
Yeah. That's fair.
You know.
That's fair.
All right.
If players have trouble developing backstories, there's something called Decima.
Decima is
As a group,
really, really
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even one to one,
Yeah.
GM to player.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel it is much more effective as group all
Yeah.
together.
I agree with you, but if someone's not ready to take that leap,
Sure.
you know, you let them get a little wet in the shallow end,
Uh-huh.
and then you
then you push 'em off the
in.
diving
yeah,
board. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
Here's the Baja shelf. You're safe.
yeah.
See?
Bloop.
Yeah. Yeah, Decima is great, especially when you have a group of, like, I've been writing a series, an advice series, and one of the things I've been writing about is this exact thing where where we were all at one point, like, the GM was like, and here's the tavern, go. And all the players are like, go what? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do here. And so eventually there came a point in my GM career where I was like, okay, I'm not going to spend 2 or 3 sessions just hoping that the group will somehow come together.
Yes.
You know each other. And Decima is particularly good in those situations. But like, I'm doing my campaign 2 for my Wednesday night group. I'm splitting the players into 2 groups, and these guys know each other and these guys know each other, but they don't all know each other. So they're going to have to come together.
Oh,
They've got
okay.
secrets. They're not a long time. Like, most of them are just road companions and stuff, but each group is going to play Decima with each
Yeah.
other, even if it's just 1 or 2 cards.
Interesting.
just to give them a
Okay.
little something.
Yeah.
But I
All right.
mean, these are also like a group of actors and writers, and so they
Creative.
generally
They're
don't have.
gonna
Yeah,
wanna- yeah.
one of the guys is the guy I'm writing the book with, and he's worked for Kobold Press. Brian, hey, Mwah. He said he's already written like 10 pages or something. Like that.
Holy.
He said, "Are you ready for it?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I sent him a GIF of somebody just shredding a bunch of documents.
That's good.
All right,
Good.
All right.
mailbag 2.
Let's do number 2.
Do you want me to read it? All right. Dear Kimmy and the backup band of chaotic bards.
Hey!
Kimmy's not here today, so I'm sorry.
All you get is chaos.
Yeah, and not Kimmy good advice. So there you go.
And also, really, only one person here qualifies as a bard-ish person.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Hey, that's
musically talented.
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I guess, like, you and I could be like the spoken word bards.
Yeah. Oh, I use
Yeah.
my fucking rapier wit. Like
Sure.
like
There you
a
go.
burr.
Careful and enunciate.
Yep. Yep. Done. I need inspiration and advice on how to handle the ever-growing entourage of followers, henchmen, and pets that seem to gather around every party of adventures, especially pets. It is not only an issue in Dungeons and Dragons, but it is a fine example, so I stick with that. It seems to me that there are often as many, and sometimes more, player-controlled extra character than actual players around the table. Rangers and druids have animal companions, spellcasters have familiars, and then there are all sorts of summoned beasts and creatures, and a few hang-arounds, allies, or hired henchmen. Then, when the inevitable combat occurs, the game really slows down to a grind.
Dun, dun, dun.
So how to handle it? Let the players roll dice for their entourage? Often gives the players some enjoyment and ownership. However, it takes time. It is even worse if the game master has to roll dice to keep track of hit points on top of everything else. Another option would be to simply hand wave it all and take the narrative approach, which might be quick and easy, but also leaves the players with a loss of agency and involvement. Best regards, Bill Meister Thomas from Denmark. P.S. Thanks for making the world's best RPG advice show a reality. P.P.S. BP.
Did we all?
Thank you, Thomas.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Thomas. Did we make another RPG advice show? Is that
Yeah.
this one?
Because
Because he said the world best,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
mean-
not this one, right?
I mean, he listens to the show he listens to in his universe.
Right. Okay.
that's fair.
Denmark.
Right.
Yeah, Denmark.
Oh,
I hear we're big in Denmark.
That's right. Yeah.
This is
This
an
is
interesting
really
one.
interesting to me because, like,
So-
I
I have a step around the mechanics house rule.
Well, first of all, before we get into the answers,
Okay.
yeah, because we don't answer things here. We talk about shit.
Look, I wanted to be
Sometimes
upfront
something
and then have a conversation.
yeah.
All right, then.
That's where I'm
Best
going.
You know
advice
what?
at the beginning.
You know what? You're wearing the headphones. You do what you want to do.
Right. Yeah, guess what? Ha ha!
Muted.
Now no one can hear you.
Yell at
No,
Mommy's yelling at my mic. Where's Kimmy?
Okay.
She never allowed it.
so
There's rails, and then there's off.
right.
Yeah.
Like we're on the dirt road next to the train track.
That's right.
Right. Sometimes it has to go up and over a hill because nobody had the money to dynamite blast their way through it. You know, we get there. We get there. So the thing that I have seen done, and I have done a couple of times, is all of those extra people that might get involved in combat, let the players know that combat is peril.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if your pet dog that you love is joining you in combat, now the gloves are off, like something bad could happen to that. I don't want to be the guy that has to kill somebody's dog, but if
will.
you are
I
making
have-
the dog fight,
I have a general rule for non-combat pets, which is your pet will not die, but it will not stay around for combat either.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's smart enough to be like,
Yeah.
have fun,
Yeah,
buddy.
it's like,
Sit, whoop, whoop,
Yeah.
sit. Good
Good
dog.
right.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Which is exactly fine, right? Like
Yeah.
I support that in its entirety. But if it's still happening, right, now everybody in the combat could be imperiled. But the thing that I've seen done that I really, really like is you turn all of those helpers into assistants, right? You're not going through, okay, well, we hired 10 dudes that are going to come with us into this dungeon, so let's roll every attack for each dude and keep track of all their hit points and all that. You just make it so, excuse me, it's like you have an advantage, right?
Yeah.
Like those guys are keeping some of the group busy, so you're better at whatever you're trying to do.
Reloading muskets. I had a dude who specifically did that for this musketeer group in our first adventure.
That's pretty good.
Sure. Yeah. Or
Just
even,
like in the Three Musketeers.
That's right.
They had a dude.
even just like
D'Artagnan.
having that in D&D terms, having you get to roll advantage on your attack is huge.
Yeah.
Those guys are creating enough of a scuffle that you're able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of let that be part of it, you know?
So I think there's two ways to look at it. Right? First of all, going back to my original question before Dave rudely interrupted me with fucking advice. The don't mute me, bitch. Actually, that'd be a good Happy Jacks shirt. Don't mute me. Anyway, how often have either of you encountered this?
Very rarely, actually. That was what I was going to say, is I do not run into hirelings following my dudes around. I've actually had one of my players, her character is dating a high-level wizard who was like, I could come with you, darling. And she's like, no, we must go alone. And I'm like, I have trained them well, but a little too well, because you could actually use a wizard here. Like,
It's like Elminster is just sitting there like, please, my love, let me come help you. I have 16 spells named after me. Like, let me assist you.
I'm a grown ass woman. I'm independent.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, stay in your damn tower. I'm gonna go handle my own shit.
also, acid pits. Acid pits is good. You know, one real good acid pit will take care of all of these animals and hirelings and everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can just watch them slowly sink into it while they scream their last breaths and melt into a pile of goo.
Only if they're personally attached to them, though.
Yes.
Like, emotionally.
Oh, like via rope? Like it's a peril, they have to cut the rope real quick, otherwise they get...
It's a rope of feelings, Dave.
It's an umbilical cord of feelings.
The other thing is, I think this really is a thing that happens when you get players into the high level.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. Because, you know, the vast majority of my RPG experience is not at end game
No.
level stuff, right? It's not. You're not like, oh, great, I'm the general. Here's my whole army. Let's go, you know.
There's a couple other things that I have done with this too. One of which is those NPCs go, we'll take the left flank. You guys go where the PCs want to go, and they leave.
Yeah.
And then you catch up with them later. I have done the thing where they're like, you're fighting the main bad guys, and some other guys are trying to break down the door. The NPCs go and hold at the door, and you don't have to sit there and like roll for them. But if they do get into the main combat, you let those players roll for their own NPCs, because there's nothing more boring than watching your DM just roll dice over and over and over again.
100%. Yeah. But if you've got, first of all, if it's a high level campaign, combat's going to grind anyway, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way
so
it goes.
Let it grind less.
Yeah. The other aspect of it is if you've got a druid, a ranger, a high level fighter with a bunch of hirelings and all kinds of stuff like that, then maybe it's a scenario where if you're finding that each combat turn takes way too long, then it's, and I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't think it is as I'm saying it, but I'm just going to say it anyway. But you do like one turn, all the animals are doing stuff. One turn, all the humans are doing stuff, right? And split it up so that like every other turn, something is more impactful than every turn, just everything going all the time. Because then it takes away from the other players and what the heroes themselves are actually doing. So.
For sure. Like, nobody's watching The Lord of the Rings to see unnamed orc fight unnamed Rohan rider.
It's on the menu.
Right? Like, nobody's watching for that. Like, it's happening 17 miles from the camera in the rain. It's
On a
there.
computer somewhere in New
In
Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
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 But you're watching to see who's going to win in the body count between Gimli and Legolas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Gimli.
Hmm?
Gimli.
But that's what you're
Dwarves are
watching.
better than
But
elves.
maybe. Well,
Dwarves are better than elves.
I mean,
that's
I
fine.
can't.
Although
Yeah.
Legolas is Legolas and he's
Yeah.
good, but dwarves are better than elves.
And then also, there are all sorts of summoned beasts and creatures. Throw in somebody with dispel magic.
Yeah.
Always pisses off my druid when those pixies show up and they're like, wee, dispel magic, boom, all gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've also seen someone do, you just roll once.
For all of your henchmen.
For you and all
of
your henchmen.
Yes.
And like maybe you have different bonuses than them, but then you just math it out and tell us what happened.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's just you're not going through. You got 6 people working with you. You're not rolling 6 times and doing the math separately. It's one roll. Okay, I know my henchmen are +2, and my summon, war pig is +3, and whatever.
I like that song.
Yeah. Sometimes what I've done when I know there's gonna be a large NPCs versus NPC bad guys thing is I will, if I know that that's coming up this week, I will roll it before the game
Oh, okay.
and then play it out narratively.
Sure.
Like,
Gotcha.
because what if your guys lose and
Yeah.
the bad guys win and then more bad guys enter the fight and suddenly, poor Caldor is dead.
Yeah. Caldor. He knew what he did.
Who?
I don't know.
Caldor was a
That guy-
hireling
that
we
guy
had in the
that-
Shit Zombies
No,
game.
no. But that guy that's been with our party for months. Who?
Who?
Wait, we have
Caldor?
a pirate?
I'm pretty sure I remember if there were a guy named Caldor.
Right.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Said
That
R.
guy he made pierogies all the time. He was so good.
But so
No, it's not ringing a bell.
one thing that you mentioned about the using dispel and stuff like that, I think you've got to be very careful about how and when you use it, because
Yes.
if you're using it every single battle, then the druid's like, why the hell did I pick summon dire bear
Yeah, I'm not prepping that spell anymore.
if you're just gonna
Yeah, if
constantly
you're just
fuck
going to
with it.
cheese me on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you could also what I actually talked about summoning creatures with my group who are level 15.
Yeah,
Where I'm like,
it's high level.
yeah, and I'm like, guys, like, just watch your summoned things. Like sometimes I know it's the right thing to do, but it slows down the game and it pisses me off.
See, that's an invitation. You're being vulnerable with your players, and some of them will take advantage of that, and they will do it just to piss you off.
At this particular table, I feel pretty safe.
Oh, see, yeah,
That's
not
not the
fun.
one I'm sitting at right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay,
you
good.
son of a bitch.
I have prepped summon animal at level 4 and level 3 and level 2. I have a whole fucking miasmic
Baldur's Gate
menagerie
Yes.
ready to grow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually had to put the kibosh on one thing, which is if you like summon, you can summon like 8 or 10 pixies or something like that, and they all come with polymorph.
Oh, damn.
So they all like show up, polymorph bad guy, and then like it's 8. Even if I have like an ancient red dragon,
Yeah, nope. It's
chances
cheap.
are, yeah,
One of them's gonna get through.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then the other things you can do is things like that. Just, I am a big believer in let your players' tactics work
Yeah,
and let them feel cool for coming up with that idea.
unless it's a potato tactic.
Yeah,
unless
unless
it's the worst
it's
thing ever.
that sort
Yeah.
of thing. But you can give somebody a breath weapon, or
Yeah.
some sort of AOE that'll just blast out all those pixies
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. There's a balance. As a
Mm-hmm.
GM you have to strike, stuff like that. And again, I'm not talking as a GM because, as I said earlier, I don't do it. I just watch all of you and judge you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've been GMing so long, I don't care who judges.
that's fair.
I care. Deeply.
Deeply.
And that's why we're friends.
Yeah. Because if you
Because
didn't,
he knows where
if
your
you don't
buttons
have-
are.
yeah,
you know how
if
to
you don't
push
have-
them.
Exactly.
The mute, the mute button.
Table to turn now, fucker. All these years. All I knew I needed.
I have the headphones now.
I have headphones now.
Oh, all right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I really think you just got to start killing your NPCs. All the hirelings, they got to go.
Yeah.
Guys
Clean
got a
up.
cute little puppy, dead.
That's fair.
Every once in a while, the chimney sweep method. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Or
a
the-
really bad accent.
Yeah, actually, sometimes you might just kill one, and they're going to want to leave them all at home. And don't kill them. Let them die in the course of combat. But yeah, like suddenly they go, maybe we shouldn't bring an entourage. And then also, you could just say, please don't bring your entourage.
That's true too. But I mean, again, that's the hard part though, is because at higher levels, it's written in as a bonus for some characters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, like for the entourages
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So that's why you don't. It's mechanically important enough where you don't want to unintentionally nerf somebody just because it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. It's finding that middle ground of like, how
Yeah.
can I do this? If they're coming in, it's going to be bad,
Mhm.
or it could be bad, or it could be good, but you're taking your chances.
Boom.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
And let us
Absolutely
know
not
like how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know if you use an acid pit.
I think Inky's gunning for something. But yeah, please Thomas, let us know how it goes. And no catchy name. I'd also be
Yeah, the
curious
unnamed
The
GM.
unnamed juggler.
about how
Juggler.
We call him Juglor. That is your new handle.
your
Yeah.
catchy name. Juggler.
You should join the
Juglor.
Discord as Juglor.
That's actually pretty good.
That's worth it. That's
And that's our creative moment for the night.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm spent.
And I'm out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for joining us for season 33, episode 6. These seasons just fly by. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Christopher Gray, at thunderedhold.com and lighthearted.games. Thank you to James V in the chat, as always, who
And everybody else who joined us there.
yeah, and all the people that participate in chat are awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's grand. But James specifically does so much hero's work, keeping the chat a safe place from all of the terrible things that exist on the internet. So cheers. And an even bigger cheers to the Happy Jacks Patreon members.
Absolutely.
You guys literally keep the lights paid for and all of the studio equipment that Kimmy is continually buying and upgrading and shuffling around to try and get the best experience for us and for you, and giving us things to drink and all of that stuff so that we can come and have a good time. You can join at happyjacks.org/Patreon. There are multiple levels you can consider. It's not like you have to come show up and give $5,000 a month, but if you'd like to, please. None of us will complain. But just any little bit helps, pay for the channel. And as things build, we start getting more, we can start doing cooler stuff.
Next stop, Scientology.
Wow.
We just
I-
for the different levels.
Yes. Okay. Different levels.
I was
Sure.
gonna or we could go Amway, or we could go. You just made the
We could
leap,
we
dude.
can get
You're
Tom
just, like,
Cruise in
there.
here.
You got
He can jump up and down on the
I mean,
on the desk.
much like Scientology, shoot for the stars.
You might hit the moon.
That's something.
I was gonna say like Sarah McLachlan, like even $1 a day helps, like you
Nope.
just went the other way.
Yeah.
Scientology.
Yeah, dang.
We need to
In
make
the eyes
billions of
the
dollars.
GM. All right. So
Scientology the musical.
yeah,
RPG. That's what
That's a-
Story Girl just said.
that's
Thank you.
that is 100% a case of too many tags being attached to a project. Too many executives sitting in the room.
producers.
Too
Yeah,
many
yeah.
cooks. Too
Yeah.
many cooks.
Yeah,
right.
for real.
that's exactly it.
One more time, I have been Kadave. You will see me back here most Tuesday nights for the foreseeable future. We're dealing with some scheduling problems for our Blade Runner game, Burning Bright. But we'll get through that, and then we'll wrap up our replicant serial killer issue, and then move on to something else and see what's going on. Definitely not the family-friendly game. So if you want to put your kids down to watch an RPG in action,
Put your kids down
To sleep.
like a rabid dog.
I mean,
You don't have to kill your.
you
kids
just
to
said
watch
if you
this
have
stuff.
NPCs following you around, you have to throw in an acid pit. So don't start.
Right. So throw your kids in an acid pit and watch Burning Bright on Tuesday night.
But we'll wrap that up, and then we're kind of at a decision point where we're going to find out if we're going to go on to a third investigative arc or if we're going to kind of wrap things up for now and see what happens in season 2. But we'll see.
I'm Ingy. I'm playing here on Sunday afternoons. The Pinnacles game.
Yep. That's good. I'm Rob. Hopefully it'll be less than 4 years before I show up again.
We can
Yeah.
only.
Oh, no, people are voting against. And
Call 1-800 if you don't want to see Rob
That's
back
right.
on the show.
Oh my God, we could like make money.
American Idol.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
And
Scientology.
I do miss telling Jason that he DMs wrong in his games. So that's my big contribution here.
Lurk and see when he signed up to be on the show, and then you can...
Hey,
Yeah, I was actually
Jump in.
supposed to do the Sunday
Pinnacles
one,
is
but I had to.
2 p.m. on Sundays.
Yeah, I was originally going to do it, but I had a lot of conflicts. So
You should just pop your head in around 3. Just be like,
that's right.
doing it wrong.
Yeah, just you hear the thriller creaky door. Wrong. Just-
I might.
That would be amazing.
yeah. With that, we will leave you with a song. Tonight's song is Heavy Mahogany by Ren Fair Friends, the Dread Crew of Oddwood. You can find their website at thedreadcrewofoddwood.com. Spelled
Standard
dread
spelling.
properly.
Standard spelling.
Yeah. Odd, O-D-D, wood.
Dread has an A in it.
Yes. It rhymes with red, but has an A. And it rhymes with the other red that also has an A. All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Riding on high above the mighty waves of steel. You hit the fall, running all throughout your veins. You can't help but feel the two takes us all, smashing all the boundaries to the ground like a battering ram. Playing it as hard and as loud as we possibly can. Heavy mahogany dominates their land and say, heavy mahogany. In our wood we trust and we trust our way to victory. We were all bound by a pact when we crossed our swords. Yes, victory, burning deep within our hearts, we are wooden lords. And we are free. Raise your fists up high to the sky.